Welcome everyone to the Toku Portal podcast. It's me Zero here with
Right. And it's just the two of us tonight. I assume everyone else is off celebrating the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to all of you listening to this, particularly those of you in America, where this is a holiday. In what better way to celebrate this holiday than discussing an episode of Kamen Rider Build wherein the war is officially declared over?
yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good segue as opposed to like ending this war, which is like, oh man, that announcement was so stupid. Like, okay, I get it. Like, technically they've won, nobody else stops them, but then they go, "Oh, I've won. I've changed my ways," and all this shit, and everybody just like celebrates. I'm like, there's no chance in hell people will be cool with like, oh yeah, that's fine. You just conquered us. It's cool, you know? Like that was so dumb. Like especially the section that stood till the end and was like, just had their parliament building or I mean prime minister's residence just explode, and then had like was constantly getting attacked like almost nonstop for a couple of weeks. Like, oh yeah, they're all just gonna cheer for this guy now. Like that was so weird.
Alright. But to open up about the actual episode, welcome to Kamen Rider Build episode 42. It opens up with Sento having lost bottles he received previously in the last episode. No one else blames him for it, but through their deductive reasoning, they conclude that if Sento's father is alive and he designed the lost bottles and Evolt is collecting them, then his father must maybe be working for Evolt. Which I think is a bit of a stretch of a conclusion for them to make. They're right, but their reasoning is kind of flawed.
I mean, at this point, like, yeah, it was weird that they concluded that, but I'm like, what has he been? Yeah, I guess it is weird that he's like, oh, well, he must be working with the villains. I'm like, that's so weird because, like, basically nothing else makes sense, right? Like, why would he even need Katsuragi to, like, do anything if he had, like, Katsuragi's dad right there? So it's weird. Also, them accusing him is weird. But then again, like this plot line came out of nowhere. Like, what the hell is this? It's there's two minds. Like, okay, we pulled our punches, and like these guys were never supposed to come back. But like we like these characters too much, so we had to give them a cop out. Like Suichi can't be Evolt, and like Katsuragi can't be the demon scientist, so we have to give it to his dad. Either that or it was always supposed to lead up to this, and the way we got here is just such a train wreck that it's like, well, that just happened. I mean, I thought maybe they're doing like kind of like a Blade thing where like the leader of well, he's not the leader. He was just the leader of the facility where Blade and Tachibana were working. Um, right? Like maybe they were trying to pull a storyline like that, but like Blade handled it much better. Like, what did you think of all this, right?
Yeah. Uh, in the end, like, I can understand them being upset that, oh, hey, Shinobu might be working for Evolt. My problem is that they don't know that he is. I mean, they just recently found out that he's alive and has been in hiding, which shouldn't really indicate, oh, he's working for the bad guy. Like, yeah, he designed a thing that the bad guy is going to use, but so did Sento. Uh,
Yeah, I think this like it feels like they're trying so hard to switch into like, oh no, None of the humans are bad guys. Nobody we've known is a bad guy. Look, we're all friends now. Those two assholes are the real problem.
Like,
You
okay,
know, and it's
e-
like, yeah, like, go ahead, go.
evil possessed Soichi's body. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with the fact that the only reason he ever turns back into Soichi is so that that actor can still be on the show. Fine. What is Sento's father doing here?
Yeah, like I know exactly what you're saying. It's like it took like this whole like tragedy situation of like, like Katsuragi only turned evil basically because like he tried to redeem his dad kinda, and then he got like too ambitious and like fall to the dark side sort of thing, right? But now it's like none of that fucking matters, because like who gives a shit? Like this guy who was basically fighting evil nonstop is now working for him, right? Is now just the main bad guy. So like nothing Sento and Katsuragi or like even Stark did mattered. Now it's only just like like Katsuragi's dad and the Evolved show. It's like what the fuck? How did we get here? It doesn't make sense. And I think it's so much like the whole thing with Gentoku this episode. There are two trains of thought. It's either like, oh, we're trying super hard to make Gentoku likable, or the other thing is, holy shit, stuff got super heavy this episode. Therefore, we need somebody to do the comedy stuff because there's still a show that kids watch, and like we can't tone down the harshness, so we have to overemphasize the comedy, and like Gentoku got thrown under the bus there for that
Which I'm
because he
glad they
really.
didn't go back to that this episode.
Oh, that was last. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I just watched like 3 episodes back to back. I don't know what I
Yeah,
don't know what
this
happened.
episode was the one where Gentoku is just a normal person that feels bad for what he did.
Yeah, I mean the problem is like they're trying to create like conflict and stuff, but the way they're doing it is kind of weird because like they need somebody to like call out Gentoku's bullshit and hypocrisy, and they need Gentoku to be a good guy, right? And they also need Gentoku to change his outfit for the third fucking time. Um, and we sort of rolled all three into basically like the Kazumi Mitan make fun of fucking Gentoku with his weird outfit changes, and now he's a good guy because he's not as evil because he had some comedy scenes. And it's like, what the fuck? Like the whole Gentoku thing is kind of evident of like how this entire plot line, like this last arc is going, where it's like okay, that could have worked, but like you've decided to not do anything and almost do bullshit filler in the middle. And now we've gotten to the point where we're pushing like 3, 4 episodes worth of plot. I mean, character wise, not like episode wise, into like one episode, and it feels so jarring. Like maybe if Katsuragi's dad had shown up, like before, if he had any hints that he was alive,
Yeah,
this wouldn't be so weird because now it just seems like, oh yeah, uh, we have nobody to be the evil scientist guy, but we need an evil scientist guy. Who can we use?
I thought that was
You know?
Izumi though.
Yeah, I know that's what I thought too. But he's doing his stupid like, oh, I'm the enforcer shit now because I got a rider belt. That's so dumb. That is so stupid.
And like, I when the reveal that his father was alive came up, I was like, this could be interesting. It's like, oh, he's working for Evolt this whole time. What? Why? And I just
Like,
couldn't care because, as far as I could tell, there was no real reason for it.
yeah, exactly. Like you can't even play the, oh no, he's secretly planning to double cross Evolt. I'm like, why? Evolt was losing, like consistently, constantly, right? Like if he hadn't interfered, he would have gotten his ass kicked. Like there's no purpose to helping Evolve unless you're on his side.
And why
You
would
know,
he be on his side? Why would anyone be on Evol's side besides Utsumi?
yeah, Utumi has just lost his mind, and I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, like
Except
the
this
actor can't.
episode, Utsumi is showing second thoughts because he realized Evold is fucking going to kill people. It's like, what did you think was gonna happen when you signed up with him back when you had reason to believe he was gonna blow up the planet?
Right, exactly. It's like, did you forget? And the worst part is like he has second thoughts, and then like he goes back to doing whatever the fuck Evolve says. Right? Like he's not even trying to lose to let the writers, like save people or anything. Like there's no redemption here. It's like we have two different characters and we're sticking them side to side, but we don't have time for that shit. So we're like, yeah, like to me, it's like this whole Evolve thing. I think the problem is Evolve's got too many forms, and because of the form nonsense, like we had so many different plot lines that got like pushed around because of that. Like the whole purpose of fucking like Namba Industries was just so Evolve could like get his form, right?
And
And then he had like three extra forms, and because he had three extra forms, we wasted a couple of weeks. Therefore, now we have to rush everything.
he has another form coming up, by the way.
I mean, that's fine because like he's the final villain. It makes sense because like right now, like he's not strong enough, even though he has insane power. Even though we finally used. Oh yes, that's how you use super speed in a rider show. You give another guy with super speed, and we have a super speed fight. Like I guess we forgot how to do that for a couple of years. Um, but at least that was done well. But in this, it's 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 like genius form is strong and it's OP as fuck, and Evolve's form is strong and it's OP as fuck. But when they fight, they always draw. Therefore, it means nothing. So he has to get a power up because there's three. Because like even if like Build draws with Evolve, that's dangerous. But I'm like there's three other riders. Like there's no other danger. Just have somebody else as soon as they draw with Evolve, get ready with your rider
Oh,
kick and kick him in the face.
I actually, that's a good point. I don't think Sento has fought Evold with help at this level. I think it's just been one on one between them.
Yeah, I know, and it's like holy shit! Like this whole plot line is like it's like the Fi's last three episodes problem. You know what I mean? Like
Where we have to
where it's
wrap it
like
up.
yeah, where it's like oh shit, we've run out of time, but there's enough plot for minimum one arc, if not a whole another season. But we're gonna cram it into three episodes. And so like that's the problem of Build. It's like okay, Build doesn't have enough plot for a whole another season. Hell, not even another arc. The problem is like they mismanaged this arc so badly, and like the Namba stuff went nowhere that it took up so much time that we're cramming everything to the end, which is kind of stupid because like let's say the next writer is not ready, like give them time. But maybe it is gonna be on time, and therefore like we're not gonna get any extra episodes.
I think that's
So
already
we're
been decided.
yeah,
I
that
think
sucks.
we're already in the extra episodes.
Oof. I mean,
That or like it was already decided when the new series would air. And this was planned from the beginning, but it makes
yeah,
me
I
feel
mean,
better thinking that this may have, some of this at least, may have been a little unintentional because they needed to pad for time.
maybe. My problem with that is like they should have gotten like one hint, that his dad was alive, right? Like, and his whole thing of like, oh, I'm working for Evolve now. He's kind of doing the whole like Ryuki like. like Tiger alternate zero thing where it's like, yeah, they're super calculated and they have basically their own plan potentially going on. But I'm like, those guys weren't at like 40 plus episodes. You know, they were like in the middle of the show. So it was fine.
Uh,
Whereas this is like, oh, another twist, and another twist, and another power up, and another power up. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
uh,
Like all pacing is grind. Like there are no stakes, right? Like the writers are outlaws now because the movie, and the movie looks terrible because like it's basically doing like Paradise Lost, which is probably one of the best writer movies of all time.
it's super
Or
good.
yeah, it's so good. Or like the second half of Wizard and Magic Land, which is not as good as Paradise Lost, but it was probably the best thing connected to Wizard. Um, yeah, like those movies, that scene made sense, whereas this, it's really stupid. It's like now people are like, oh, okay, I get the idea that like, oh, riders are like the machines of war. We have to destroy them to end like the war once and for all. But I'm like, Build save people like constantly. Like that doesn't mean anything. All he has to do is de-henshin. Like you don't have to attack him. It doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. I don't know, man.
Well,
Yeah. Any thoughts?
uh, Evil summons a black hole to eat the total government building to declare the war over. Which I guess that's a way to do it. Like, hey, they don't have a ruler anymore now, so we can take over. Uh, my only problem with this is that the entire time he's doing it, Sento and Gentoku are just standing there watching him do it, not attacking at all.
I mean, my only thought with that is like, it's a fucking black hole. Like, what are you supposed to
I
do?
guess you can argue that they were trying not to get sucked in. I'll give
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, to be fair, like, yeah, I kind of give like Katsumi and like Banjo a pass because they're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do against that?
and they were
You
super
know?
far away fighting Utsumi.
Yeah, and then like Gentoku was weird this episode. Like he gets knocked down, and it's like he just stays down, but you don't feel like he's hurt. He's just like, oh, I have to stay down because this is what the plot demands, and it was super weird. Um, Whereas like, oh, the war is over because we we basically sucked up the prime minister's resident. That is so fucking stupid.
I mean, I get
I'm like,
it, but like at the same
I
time,
yeah, like the point is you could have that moment, but then you can't be like, oh, I'm all for peace now. Like, no, all right, people would not buy that. The only way you could have been like, okay, I've won. Fuck off. I'm king now. You listen to what I say or you get your ass kicked.
he,
Like like if fucking Kronos was here, this like Kronos would know how to run this because basically that's the type of villain you want. Like I control everything, bow down before me. Whereas what they do is like they basically nuke the White House and then they go, "Oh yes, I've decided the war's over and we're all friends now."
we're gonna disarm all our nukes now.
I mean like at least the nuke disarmament is a better option than this, which is like, oh no, I've just won.
Well, no, he did say like
We
we're going
all,
to disable all like military weapons made for war. Like
I mean, this is
because
self-defense
er,
things.
well
Yeah,
earlier Namba when he was prime minister had declared that he was going to plan an attack on other nations in the world. And now Evolt in that position is taking that back effectively saying, "No, no, I've decided we're not going to do this. I don't want to see any more bloodshed. We're done."
I mean that's cool, but like the worst. No, this would have been okay. But the thing is, then they cut to like the citizens of Toto, and they're like, yeah,
They're just happy
Yeah,
that the
your
fighting
country.
is over.
I know, but it's stupid because they should be pissed that like, oh, their country is gone. I know, like the whole thing is like, oh, we're unified now, but it's happening too fast.
That was all. Those most of those people were from Hokuto and Sato.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, anyway, yeah, I just felt that was weird. Like, like it doesn't even mean anything. I mean, the whole thing is like, yeah, it's just setting up for the movie, but like Evolve doesn't need any of this shit. I think that's the worst part. Is like, oh, oh, and the worst is like the good guys win, and they keep letting Evolve walk away. Like he literally just walks away. He dehensions and walks away. Like he loses, right? He doesn't do any magic black hole powers. He loses super hard, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll fight you next time." Basically, it's
Yeah,
like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
that was last episode. I had a problem with that, where Sento just watches him leave normally. Uh,
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, they've been doing this so long. It's like, what is the point, man? Like, do you need to drag out the episode count so lame in such a lame ass way, right? That you're not even gonna give a good reason why the villain escaped. Like the 3 seconds of like, oh, suddenly there's smoke and we disappear somehow is fucking bullshit. But I'm like, all right, I can kind of let it pass because you don't know what happened, right? But like, just to let somebody walk away and then go like, oh, we have to end this war. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Maybe you should try harder. So
I
dumb.
I should
Like,
clarify for
like,
people listening that Zero just caught up on the last two episodes as well, which were pretty bad, and that's partially what he's venting about here.
yeah.
Because
Sorry,
this
sorry about
episode
that.
here was actually pretty decent, with a few flaws.
I don't know. I mean, it was okay. I still don't like how like the country is unified. Ah, fuck it. I don't care. Let's not ramble.
Okay,
Yeah, I
uh,
just didn't like it.
Banjo has more Evolt memory flashes, and kind of freaks out a bit, so he's maybe turning into Evolt or whatever the hell is going to happen to him. It's nice that we're seeing progress on that. I just wish we could get a bit more. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, the banjo stuff is kind of interesting, but it just feels like why are you adding this? Like we have no space for the plots we have. Like we already resolved this. Why did we need this plot to come back? You know?
so, uh, while thinking to himself, Sento gets absorbed into his own mind, where he has a child Katsuragi, who has been manipulating his memories and picking and choosing what Sento remembers. I don't remember why he was doing this. I legit don't. What was his reason?
I have no idea. Like the Katsuragi stuff doesn't make sense at all. It's like they both reawaken. Why is he holding back? They're not like this is not an Imogen thing, you know? Like they're not two different people. They're just like one dude. Like okay, maybe they're playing it off as like, oh, he's got like a split personality thing going on where it's like the other like Katsuragi remembers his memories and like Sento remembers his memories and they're both there. But I thought it's more like, oh no, we're back to like Katsuragi, and then like when Sento woke up, he just like got the Sento side and the Katsuragi side. So it doesn't make sense why they're like doing this memory nonsense. I mean, then again, it's probably just for this episode, and it's really stupid because it goes nowhere and just resolves immediately. Why? Right? Like, plus he keeps calling like Katsuragi's dad his dad, so I'm like, okay, so we're pretending like we're one person, but then we do this memory thing for no reason. It's stupid. I
I
mean, maybe they just wanted the actors to play off each other, which is
I
fine.
think it was just like a manner of speech. Like he's used to saying it's his dad rather than our dad because he's an only child.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Um, and then Gentoku comes up to Sento and just goes on a heart to heart with him about how he feels like a failure to his father, how he went against his father's own ideals, and when his father trusted him after he died, Gentoku did nothing. It's a really good moment for Gentoku because you start to see like the true side of him. Nothing like with flashy clothing or anything like that. Like nah, he actually regrets everything that he's done.
Yeah, I mean, like usually when characters have heart to heart, it's pretty good. In this show, uh, was it this episode or last episode where like Sento and no, not Sento, Katsumi is like I don't even fucking know what to do anymore, right? Like
That was
I
last
started this
episode
war. Oh my
or two
god.
episodes
No, no,
ago.
no, no. Was it? I thought it was this episode when they go to the house and it's like, what am I fucking
No,
even
that was a
doing here?
couple episodes ago.
Oh, okay, that sucks. That was a really good scene, and I'm like, fuck. Don't don't watch 3 episodes back to back. Like I can't.
You
It
can't
seems like it's
process everything.
like I can process it. I can't separate which episode had what because like if you watch them back to back, they're one giant storyline.
Yeah,
So I'm
that
like, oh, it
if
happened
there's
this
anything this
episode.
show has been good about, it's connected episodes.
Yeah, and like the last 3 are pretty like basically on the same day almost kind of thing. I mean, not really, but close enough.
Within the same like 2 days. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a week has passed as you would expect.
hmm I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Like the
there's
time.
there's some
Yeah, go
fireworks
ahead.
going on outside my window. If anyone can hear that, Happy America.
Oh, okay. I can't do it, so it's fine.
Oh, yesterday it
But
was very prevalent.
yeah, okay. That's oh, I guess that still doesn't make sense. Whatever. Um, right. The timing's interesting. Like the weird part is like, why did Katsumi need to become stronger? Like he was holding up okay, and then like Banjo gets his weird powers. And it's like, okay, maybe they're like, okay, everybody else got a power up. We have to give these guys a power up. Oh, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember reading like the funniest thing, which is like, how many forms does like Banjo have? And by this point, he has 7. So people are
He,
making the joke, it's like, just collect all 7 to get your wish granted.
he has
Um,
7.
yeah, I
Uh,
think if you include the movie ones,
Dragon, Splash Dragon. Um, oh, was there the magma one? Uh,
yeah,
the
and then the
the
new dragon, so that's
yeah, evil
4.
dragon bottle. That's 4.
That's
Uh,
4. I think he has 2 in the movies or sites, whatever. There's 2 other ones, and then there's like, or maybe it's just all the dragon forms in this. So maybe we're just
well, that
counting
would
like
count
Kazumi
Log
with,
Dragon and Evil Dragon and Rabbit
yeah,
Dragon in the movie. So that would make 7. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, holy shit, so many forms. But then the problem is like Gentoku has been getting his ass kicked the most out of everyone, but he doesn't get any. He doesn't get anything. Right?
Uh,
Like at this point, he is the weakest one.
Evil never gains or
Which
loses anything though.
yeah, I mean, I mean, Gentoku though.
Oh, Gentoku.
Yeah, like Gentoku is the weakest one, even though like he should be pretty strong. Like at this point, like Kazumi and Banjo are so much better than him, and like
Oh yeah.
Build is the main character, so he'll win regardless of how strong
That
you are.
that lethal amount of nebula gas really put Kazumi back on par.
I don't even know. Like, was that even necessary? Because like he was doing okay without that. Like Gentoku continues to get his ass kicked. You know, like I guess maybe they're building up that like oh he'll keep losing until he finally beats Mad Road, which is like really did we need this plot line? You know, I guess because we have so many writers, we needed this.
Alright. Utsumi stages a rider rebellion to lure the other riders out. Like, I don't expect that to carry over very far. Because the reason why Build is considered an outlaw in the movie is a different reason than this. So this isn't going to carry any weight. But basically, the riders go out and fight, and Sento and Gentoku stand up to Utsumi, and it's really good. They give your traditional like rider hero who's about to lose stands up and keeps fighting anyway speech, and you just can't go wrong with it. It hits really good here. Kamen Riders will live forever.
Yeah, I mean the Sento stuff was good. My only problem was like Gentoku gets knocked out like way too early, so he's just then like on the floor for like 5 minutes, and then like Sento gets knocked out, and then he gets right back up and gives the speech. So I'm like, the timing in that fight needed a little changing, but other than that, yeah, good
I'll take
speech.
it because it's still a good fight. In his fight, one of Banjo's bottles turns silver, which is set up for the movie, I'm sure.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much.
like, do you
Just like
care if I tell you what it is?
I don't really care.
In the movie, Sento has a rabbit dragon form, and he uses a gold rabbit bottle and a silver dragon bottle, and I'm pretty sure that's what this is.
Oh yeah, I heard something about that happening. I didn't think it was these bottles, but like, you know what the saddest part is? Like, we have 60 bottles, plus they're putting the plot of this dark panel, whatever. So there's like what 8, 10 more.
There's more than that
Yeah.
because there's a bunch of artificial bottles.
Oh, for the love,
Like,
fucking hell, Baronette! like, like we had so many bottles, we had to put a mini series for them,
okay,
and they
so
counted for basically
you
nothing.
have yeah, you have the 60 Pandora's box bottles. You have the 10 lost bottles. You have Bonjo's magma bottle. You have Evolt's 4 different change bottles. You have possibly Utsumi's 2 change bottles if those count as different ones. Then you have Sento's dual rabbit rabbit and tank bottles. There's a ton of fucking bottles in this show.
Oh, and then like the Gear Bros had their two.
Right, they have their artificial bottles, so there's probably a couple. There might be some more artificial ones in the Heisei Final movie that I haven't seen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true because like the Kaiser is what they're based off of, and that is a totally different form. So yeah, there's at least two more bottles in that. So it's like what the heck? Like
So
it's
we're looking at
so
about 80 bottles here, give or take.
yeah around. It's like it's around 80, potentially more because we don't know how many more. It's like what the fuck, Bandai? Was there just not enough money? Like
Uh,
holy shit.
hey Drago, how's it going?
I was just gonna say Kamen Riders are gonna live forever as long as Bandai keeps making money.
Uh,
Yeah, that sounds great until like that didn't happen, and like okay, this is not Sentai where we can go like who cares, they'll just keep making them, right? Like Ryder died and came back multiple times,
Yeah,
right? So this is not like oh it's fine, they'll figure it out. No, no, no. Like Ryder can crash and burn, right? Like we had the original run, then we had the Black and RX, and then we had the 90s movies, right? So that's like three different breaks right there.
and then Kugo was
Plus,
only
like,
supposed to be a one-off, and it sparked an
uh,
entire new generation.
Right,
Um,
and then like there was supposed to be like the 10th Showa writer didn't even get a show. He just got his movie. There's stuff that's like comic only writers. There are like radio plays and stuff writers. There's oh shit, like the first and the next was basically supposed to have more than that. Like the next one was going to be like X, I think, or and then like at least fucking Amazon's got to like 2 seasons and a movie, but that's only most likely because like Amazon, the company, is putting money into that. Um, right? Like the fucking superhero Tyson movies are done, so like there's no permanence for anything. Yeah, writers basically Banda's second highest grossing thing because like it goes Gundam, which makes insane money, and then Rider, which is basically like the most profitable tokusatsu thing, I think.
yeah,
And then like Sentai is way down, but it's still like number three, I think.
no,
Um,
I think it's some anime stuff in the middle and then Sentai.
Probably
yeah, it's
Dragon Ball
probably like
Z or
Dragon
Dragon
Ball,
Ball in
Sailor
general.
Moon. Yeah, Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, probably. Um, like the amount of money, it's fucking madness. But no, we have to squeeze in 80 fucking bottles into a show with like what half the episode number as the bottle. Like it's insanity.
That I really feel sorry for the writer to have to deal with all this shit.
Uh,
I mean,
Drago.
yeah,
Oh, you can keep going, Zero.
I mean to be fair, like you could make it work, but like put that in your show. Like give a reason why it's like, oh, we have so many bottles. Well, make it like Blade. Like the you defeat the monster, you get the bottle. There, problem solved. And then you
That's
could have
kind of
something
how it
like,
started.
It kinda how it started. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, but then my other thing is like, oh, why don't the bottles come back? One, like either the new forms take the power of the old bottles, or two, you do the Garo thing of like, yeah, we beat the monsters, but like we can't use their power because they'll come back to life or something. Or like the thing we captured their essence in needs to be purified. So like, yeah, they're locked in here, but we can't really use the abilities.
Also, with Blade, he had a fourth of the cards himself, and we saw what every one of them did before he ended up combining them all together for his final form. Whereas with Build, he uses not even a fourth of them before he combines them all into his final form.
okay, here's the thing. I have a problem with Bandai in when they were making these toys. Okay, yeah, we know that the bottle we only saw about a fourth of the bottle, but because they were forms, and then you have to make a ridiculous amount of suits to actually make like the form in the first place. Like even the movie Kamen Rider Blood, he is literally like broken parts of other suits to make a form.
I get that. And that's one of my problems with O's is that like if they had made the suits like in separate parts, they could have made more combinations. But why do we need so many different combinations on a single rider?
Yeah, that's even my I have an issue with both O's and Build is this. At least O's had the excuse of only having the proper combinations, like the single color combination. So that made a streamlined thing. Like everything else is a variation Tatoba, and the color combination are his actual forms. Build, however, it's even not even that. The best match thing is okay, but that would work only if they were like 10 or 20. They're 60.
Yeah, I mean like the way around this is you're gonna have to like fuse the gimmicks like Wizard, Forza, and potentially Kiva's gimmick, where it's like um I mean, like Kiva's one's probably more of a pain in the ass to fuse, but like the wizard and Forza thing, where it's like, you know how wizard has like his main forms and then he has like ability rings, but instead of like abilities, it should just be like, you know how Forza just gets like, oh, here's just a gun, you know, it goes on my leg or whatever.
It was a Gatling
Yeah,
gun.
Yeah,
but
I
it
know.
didn't sell well.
It
That is
Uh,
the
it's
problem.
about
he
yeah. They
fired that
should be.
into the school's pool.
Holy shit!
I remember that.
Wow, that kid's a menace. Um, and they let him come back to teach.
I guess it's because I you did save Japan from Japan from destruction. So yeah, here you go. You can come back and teach. All is
Oh.
forgiven.
Uh,
Yeah,
We
that's
should do
pretty.
Hasty Generations final one day.
Oh man.
what?
Hey, say Generations final.
Like
I,
when it's subbed.
It's
yeah, I
already
have to
subbed,
watch.
right? TV Han hasn't subbed it yet.
Have
I don't know,
they?
man.
I'll
I have
check. You
no idea.
talk.
I haven't. Okay, yeah. My thing with this is like there are solutions, but like, okay, when you have 60 bottles, one, that's way too fucking many. But you have four riders. You could have spaced them out.
No, they don't have Hasty
Two.
Final up yet.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Well, it should come out soon, I guess.
yeah,
But
my point. I was gonna say that like they gave Banjo enough, but Banjo always has a variation of dragon, and Greece or even Greece or even what do you call it, Gentoku didn't get enough. I would act, that was a good idea to use like the bottles to like for like power ups, like temporary power ups solutions, like how Gentoku is a Phoenix one and Kazumi used Eraser. I thought that was a really good use of the unused full bottles, but then they stopped using those.
yeah,
That kind of pissed me off for a bit.
yeah, I think like Greece probably did the best, where it's like he has his base suit, and then like his power ups are just like, oh, I can fly now because I have like a helicopter arm, you know, or whatever. And like if they did that, it would be okay. Because you're like, oh, why aren't you using this specific ability? It's like, who cares? We have a power up form, you know. Like, it's better combined with like the old. I mean, like it's just better power wise. Like you know, like how Wizard, um, like whenever he gets a form power up, it's just better than the damn spells most of the time because like it's just like multiple times better. And then Infinity happens and it's like, yeah, why would you use anything else? It's basically indestructible and has super speed, you know? Like it makes sense why you wouldn't use the spell rings at that point. Go ahead.
Well, what I was gonna say is that one thing that I appreciate from the current episode is that at least the original build suit and the other matches are getting used now. Because I guess because Toei ran out of money, like Banda ran out of money to give, and then they were like, okay, we are not gonna like sell it, and then they wanted to still have another rider maybe,
Did we actually
and
see Ninja Comic?
we don't. I think that
Oh.
it's gonna be there in the next episode.
I mean, as good. I do like the idea that like the old forms are useful because like for the most part, like yeah, if you're fighting a war and stuff, like the old suit is pretty much useful for most things except like the highest level bad guys, which is fine because you have four other guys who have powered up forms. So like giving the old suit back would be fine. The problem is like it's not the old suit. It's just some other guy who just happens to look like the old suit, and it's like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, where the fuck did the secondary evolve driver come from? And it's like you could easily tie stuff back, you know, and reuse this, but you don't. It's
Well,
like, you know, like as much as like it was weird seeing Gaim, like they would just like rip off their old driver and get like a new one. Like if one show I would be okay with them just getting like different drivers, just so the old stuff didn't work because then the new power ups are so different. It would be built because like Max Hazard is such a weird ass power up. You know, it basically takes over the belt. Like um, Sparkling is such a weird ass power up. It might as well just be its own
Pepsi
thing.
Man.
Yeah, Pepsi Man, pretty much. Um,
I
Genius, could just be its own belt. Like they don't need the old system because you have so much crap on the old belt.
I kind of
So
wish we
like
could
if
have
they
gotten a sparkling form for some other best matches.
yeah, that would be cool. I mean, it would have been fine if like because the thing is like it's not as if like Build can't just build another driver because he made one for Banjo, right?
Hmm.
Actually, he made two for Banjo. Um, so no, he made three. Well, two bells, one knuckle.
He he made Banjo everything Banjo uses.
Yeah, so like it would have been nice. I think my maybe my problem is like, okay, then who do you give the belt to? Because I'm like, well, you could kind of give it to Mizora because she has weird powers, or like you could give it to Sawa. At least she'll like. I know,
uh,
I know, but hey, you laugh. But Sawa fucking took out agents and jumped off a three-story building, right?
true.
She drove a fucking van and leaped onto a floating
Oh
barge. All
yeah, that's
right,
right. She
she's
drove a
crazy.
van through a brick wall, concrete wall, rather. It was
Yeah.
concrete.
Oh man.
Uh,
Okay,
well,
she also okay. I was gonna say she also made them jump a van into a boat.
uh,
Yeah. I mean, like, if we were doing the whole thing of Sawa goes to rescue like the remaining Namba children, at least she could have used the old belt because it would have been stronger than anybody in Namba had left. You know. But then like, oh, here's just another Evolve driver, and here's another Build driver. It's just such bullshit.
oh,
Okay, you know what I was gonna say that they should never have made the what do you call it Splash driver.
why?
Okay, what I mean is the driver is pretty much useless. I mean, you can only read three bottles, and the rest of the bottle just say charge or discharge. So what's the point? It's not even a good toy. And two, you could have just used what Banjo did with the cross dragon thing, where you earn Magma Knuckle because you could just have added add-ons to it. At least Evolve driver has all this. It has different sounds than the Build driver, but it can read all the bottles. Splash driver can't even read that.
Good point. Splash Diver is a little useless. Was whatever. Also zero. The thing about the evil driver is that it's implied that uh, Sento's dad built the second one that Utsumi is using because he was
Okay,
able to replicate it after Sento gave Evolt the finished one.
that's so fucking okay. You know what? That could have worked as a hint to like, oh, Katsuragi's dad's alive. But the problem then becomes like, why the fuck do we even need Build to do anything? His dad built the original. He could just make another one. Like
Actually, that's a good
it's like a
point.
cat. Yeah, it's like
Evolt kept going to Sento for everything, and yet how long has he had Shinobu though?
right. So like at one point it does make sense, but then like if you
Mm,
think about it, it immediately falls apart. Like because if it was like a Matsumune and Dan situation, it would be fine because like Dan is clearly much smarter than Matsumune, right? But like we've had no indication in the show that that's what's going on, so it makes no sense.
well, I was gonna bring a counterpoint that said this Katsu like Sento's dad didn't build the driver. He just made like a like how like he just started working on it, and Katsuragi was the one who completed the entire thing, like including completing the original part and making the driver itself. So may and since Evolt had was there with Cento, he might have stolen the data of how to build one and gave it to Shinobu.
Yeah, that is fair. Evil gave Shinobu a broken driver, and Shinobu looked at the pieces and went, I can replicate these.
Again, I mean, yeah, fair point, but that would have been a good time to introduce the damn character, because
Uh,
we've been like, where did this damn belt come from
a good time
for
to
like
introduce
episode?
him would have been at the end of this episode where he shows up as a second build. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that would have been good too.
because, like, in fact, this doesn't make sense either way. So I would have rather they didn't tell us that he was alive first. I would have rather this have been the reveal that he was even still alive, because at least it would have shocked me.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting point. Like, we've just now pointed out like two places this could have shown, and this character could have shown up. It's just he showed up in the middle, and it's the worst part. That's so
Eh,
weird, but
it
oh,
was very
interesting.
anticlimactic compared to what it could have been.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. To be honest, like he doesn't add anything.
Like,
Like he's like his scenes with Evolve haven't added anything. So like if he just showed up at the
Well,
end of this episode, it would have made more sense. But go ahead, Dark.
okay, I was just gonna say this that I get why he's was necessary. Okay, how many riders do we have? In the hero side, four, and how many villains that we had? One. It they
two.
got
Oh,
that
we
how?
had two.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just talking about Evolved. Before, like in a few episodes ago, there was only Evolved. I get why they needed to have Mad Rogue and this another build is because Evolved alone is not a good, like you can have Evolved at small doses and it works really well, but if you had Evolved for the 10 episode chunk, you get annoyed from him. And that's what happened from episode 31 to 40. It's at 31 to 39.
More or less. Drago, you weren't here for a lot of this podcast. Is there anything else about this episode you want to talk about?
Well, nothing really because well, I was there. I was just listening on YouTube, but
Oh,
there was nothing much I did want to say other than the fact that I think Katsuragi is actually suppressing Sento's memories is because he doesn't want him to his mind to break, kind of because of the all the atrocities he's committed in the 10 years.
oh, yeah. Like I watched the episode a few days ago, and then I only skimmed through it to do the notes real quick because I got home like right before we started. So, uh,
Yeah, I mean, Build's problem, I think, is just the Fi's problem, where it's like it's got good ideas. It's just had terrible. I mean, not terrible pacing, just really weird pacing. Where it's like once you finish the arc, then you're like, okay, that wasn't terrible, but it's like, why did you put this much information in like a couple episode chunks and then like pad this part out? Like I
overall,
think
Yeah, but
that's
oh, okay. I was just gonna say that you know what, Build is really good, right? Only if you binge the entire series or binge a huge chunk of the story, like one after another. Like you binge like for 1 to 13 or 14, and then you stop, and then you take a week, take a time off from there. You binge like another 13 or 14 episodes, take it off, and I was gonna. That is the way that way the build doesn't get boring and it's really fun to watch and it doesn't
okay.
get
So
as
you're saying
annoying.
like, yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying basically like watch each arc like it's a season.
Yeah,
Um,
and I can understand that because I think the writer usually writes like 13 episodes or like limited amount of episodes for a show because he's a TV show writer and not a tokusatsu writer. And that's the problem I had with even Yuya Takahashi and the current writer, like Yuya Takahashi when he wrote X8, and even the current writer, is that they don't know how to write tokusatsu. They don't take advantage of the 50 episode time properly, and
Yeah,
that's what has been a problem with both X8 and Build.
But I will
Otherwise,
say
these both are
this:
solid shows.
X8 had more likable characters.
I kind of disagree. I like the Build cast a bit more
Oh,
because
really?
because X8 had three characters that I was kind of on: Nico, Laser, and this one, what do you call it? And Hero.
Brave.
Yeah, Brave.
okay, so
Kiria,
option
what?
okay,
Okay, wait.
option
I
one
was just
and
gonna
three
say
are
that.
fine. Yeah, I know. I'm saying option one and three are fine. I'm not sure you're gonna last long if you say number two. Um,
No, no, no.
I'm
I'm not. I'm not saying.
I'm
Okay.
fine with it. I'm just saying like, oh, live dangerously, you know, um,
Mm,
because it's sort of like
okay.
me constantly going like, oh fuck, Gaim, or like Black isn't that good. Like, yeah, I could say that, but the thing is like, people get so pissed when you do that
Okay.
because
Let me clarify. I don't. It's not that I don't like Laser. I love Laser. He's one of my favorite characters. But he was just absent from a huge chunk of the show.
I'm not, so he was kind of dead.
Yes, and it's just that. And after he came back, he was just there. He didn't add as much to the show. And
yeah,
the
that's
reason
okay.
why I love him is only because the first 12 and Game versus Laser, and also yeah, that's really about it.
The thing about Gaim
Yeah,
Zero is that I don't care that you don't like it. I just think you're a little harsh on it.
okay. Like, I think I've come like much softer over after Gaim ended. Um, Yeah, I say like I don't give a shit, but it's mostly because like I have zero interest in ever going back and rewatching. Like, okay, I have like a small interest. I'm like, maybe I should see how this train wreck goes so I could like
But
rewrite this
I and like
Okay,
properly.
okay.
I
But
I stopped
but
defending it so much as well because I realized like I don't actually like Gaim as much as I thought I did.
but
Well,
like
I realized that. Okay, I realized how much I didn't like Gaim after the show ended. So yeah, we are all on the same boat right now.
Would I
yeah,
rewatch
I mean
Gaim? Yes. But is it in my top five? Hell no.
yeah, I mean my thing. I think what happened with like I don't hate it as much right now. It's kind of like yeah, that was a season of Rider that like didn't live up to its potential. So right now it's kind of sitting at like like a 50 or whatever percent. Like it's not great, it's not terrible, it's just there. Um, but that's because it's been a couple of years, you know. Whereas like I think my real hatred was like everything is like when you watch it and then you read people's comments and it's like, oh, this is amazing. It's like this is what oh wait wizard yeah it was before this is what wizard should have been and it's like are you people high or
Wait,
some
who
shit
said that's
like
what Wizard should have been?
no like a lot of people are like oh I quit wizard's fucking trash like it should have been like Gaim's the greatest thing this one Gaim was airing and I was like
You know what? That is
you
fair.
you
Gaim got a lot of praise during its airtime.
I know and I'm like you people have no idea what the fuck you're talking the problem is like Gaim got so hyped because it was Kamen Rider Lost, right? It's just the mystery box formula in a Kamen Rider format, where it's like, hey, look, here's a mystery. I wonder what it could be. Oh, look, here's an obscure reference. It might be the thing it is in the real world. It could be just a fucking name. Guess what it is, peons? try to figure it out. And it's like, and so many people got wrapped up in the fucking mystery solving shit that they're like, this is
Mm,
amazing. It's so great. I'm
okay.
like, you people know this means nothing, right? It's a tokusatsu show. Yeah, go ahead.
What I was gonna say is that I know why people liked Gaim when it was airing a lot, because I was one of the people like who got swept up in with this one particular aspect of it. You know how the episode, like 2 episode formula, was on repeat for since Double.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wizard was probably
and
the
Gaim
hardcore
literally
fan.
broke that formula.
Uh huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I get
that
it.
was one of the few reasons why people liked it, because it was serialized rather than episodic. And also the people who had started watching Kamen Rider from and Double, that era, like they started watching 2009, 2009, 2010, and around that time,
Hmm.
they
Oh, yeah,
hadn't
yeah.
they
They
hadn't
hadn't
seen the
seen the
early.
old school.
They
Yeah.
hadn't
Yeah, and
seen
then
Kuga. They hadn't seen Blade. They hadn't seen Fies.
yeah, pretty much. So that is why that they were like, oh, Gam is so cool, like that kind of excitement happened, because they thought that Kamen Rider is like, it was like Breaking Bad moment for Kamen Rider for them.
Uh,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's what I've kind of realized, like, after game, where it's like, yeah, most people overhype the hell out of it, and it's probably because one, they don't know, two, they actually like this format, or three, like this was their first writer. Because like, there's a couple writer shows that were like uh Decade, Double, O's, Gaim. Probably like the biggest reintroduction, like new fans came in, or like old fans picked the writer back up when that happened. And so the thing is like yeah, everybody kind of realizes that like Decade's kind of a train wreck, but it's not as bad because like you realize like that show shouldn't have been like twice as long. And like Gaim, it's like, yeah, it's right. Like one, you have a writer who hadn't worked on a show this long, and it's like, it was people's first, or like, this mystery box formula wasn't bad, and it was breaking the 2 episode mold. So yeah, it has its good points. And like O's is fucking solid. So watch that. Like if you had to introduce anybody to O's, it'd be that, or Ryder. O's is a pretty good pick. Whereas Double, like Double's problem is like it doesn't stick to its themes, but it's not as much of a train wreck, you know. So it's like it's got this great theme that runs throughout the show, but the show refuses to focus on it. It just focuses on this hard boiled shit, which is
it,
really
it
stupid.
was a fun pseudo noir kind of show.
No, no, no. I'm saying
uh,
that's fine. The problem is like the strongest theme in Double is family, and they
Oh,
like
that's
set it
barely in that
everything.
show.
No, no, no. It is. It's There's a lot of it. It's just like there's so many thematic parallels, but the
Oh,
show
you're
refuses
right.
to use.
I forgot about the villains actually.
Yeah, yeah. And like how Shotaro goes and like basically says like, "Oh, the city is my garden," which is so fucking stupid as a catchphrase. He should have basically said, like, because he's an orphan, he should have just pretty much been like, "The city is my family," right? And that would have worked with like everybody else, like, because like Akiko and like her dad and like Philip and his family, and like Shotaro has nobody except the boss, kind of. And like Ryu, and like trying to like get past like what happened to his old family and start a new one. So like there's all this theme, but like the show refuses to pay attention to it. It just like goes the stupid like machismo hard boiled shit, and it's like, what are you doing? That's Double's biggest problem. Like, and the thing is, like, if you don't notice that, it's fine, because then it's just an okay show. But if you notice that, then you're like, oh, you're like this close to greatness. You just stumbled and fell. and that
Huh.
like happens over and over. Like especially the comedy is way too over the top for that show,
Okay,
especially as it goes on.
so now I get why some people criticize Double.
Yeah, and like O's is a little way too episodic, kind of, but otherwise it's pretty solid. And like, you know, Ankh became too popular, so he couldn't be the final villain.
So they made him an
Um,
anti-hero instead.
yeah, pretty much. And then like Gaim, it's like yeah, it broke the formula so hard, and then like Madoka Magica was like super popular around that time.
Because it was
So
just
people are like,
Ryuki.
yeah, it's basically just Ryuki. But people are like, oh, this guy wrote this awesome thing. Let's watch his tokusatsu, and it's like it's all dark and shit. I'm like, yeah, kinda, but like it doesn't go anywhere for so long, So it just goes in circles, and I think that's what pissed me off, and especially because like oh, people are like, oh, it's so interesting and dark and stuff. I'm like, yeah, because you're doing like 80%, maybe 50 to 80% of the potential here. And mine, what I was watching is I was like, okay, first write a Kamen Rider show, which it kind of wasn't because it was trying to break the formula. And two is like, fucking run with it, you cowards. Stop pulling your punches. Um, because like there's a point where like Kota saves like two people and he feels like a hero, but the whole show is like, no, Yggdrasil is fucking with you, right? So everything you do is bullshit, and it's up to them. So I'm like, those two people he saved should have just been like working for Yggdrasil, and they should have just
Okay,
been actors. And then
okay, you
like,
know what?
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that in the end, right? Kota didn't actually save anybody.
Oh my god, he didn't.
It's true.
Oh my
Oh
god.
Yeah.
man, if I made it to the end, I think I might have actually exploded. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I
Because
saw like
the people.
I, I saw like a third of Gaim, and I'm like, this is going nowhere.
He
Oh,
prevented
maybe
future casualties.
yeah. And I was like, okay,
But
maybe I'll see what this female writer is. Maybe they'll finally do her good and like make a good female writer. And she comes in and she's nothing. I was like, you know what? Fuck
she's
it.
a
I am
cardboard.
yeah, like I am not putting up because the thing is like, oh, in retrospect, you're like, oh, what's the big deal? It's just a show. No, it's not just a show. It's like 21 weeks of my fucking life. Because when it's coming out new, you have to watch it week by week,
Well,
and
there's
like
nothing else
when
like
you,
it on TV. What are you gonna do?
yeah, and my point was,
Man.
and my point is like, it's so much worse. Like the hatred is so much more real when you have to wait for the next episode like week after week of thinking, oh, it'll get better. No, 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 it won't. It's just going to do its own thing, and if you're not on board, it's just going to get worse. So I just gave up. But yeah, you guys were saying about like the ending or whatever.
Okay, okay. In the end, right, the people who actually saved people is the riders that they don't focus on, like the tertiary or not tertiary. There are too many bloody riders. The riders that were not the protagonists.
All the secondary and tertiary riders, basically, because
Riders,
what they
yeah.
do is they evacuate the entire fucking city.
They save all the regular people from the attacking invest that have come to the cracks. They try and like keep the peace in the city, while all Coda does is just get involved with, goes to the bloody forest and just tries to find answers. That's it.
And then he.
And that
Oh,
and that
go on.
basically sums up my problem with Gaim right there, where it's like, okay, cool, you set up your mystery shit. I don't care about your mystery shit. Fucking do a writer's show. Whereas what you described is basically like the exact problem I was having. It's like I wanted the show focused on the other guys, who were doing the writer stuff, but the show was more focused on this guy who was finding answers to your bullshit mysteries.
And then at the end, at the very end, he ends the battle for the golden fruit by winning it, and he takes all the invests and he brings them to another planet so that they won't attack anyone else on Earth.
I mean, I guess that's heroic,
I mean,
but
he
Okay, okay. Okay, you know why I can't root for Coda at all in the
why?
show? He got handed every single one of his bloody power up. He doesn't deserve to bloody win.
Oh yeah. Like the guy running the battle for the golden fruit straight up favors Koda at every turn because he's the underdog and keeps giving him more and more advantages.
Yeah, this is what I was having a problem early on too. While watching this, I'm like, okay, at that point I hadn't seen Ryuki, but since Gaim I've seen it, and the problem clearly becomes Urobuchi tries to remake Guy or not Guy Ryuki, but he doesn't understand why shit happened in Ryuki. Or he intentionally wanted to do it differently and he fucked up super hard. Because the reason is like, yeah, Ryuki gets all the power ups because he's the main rider, and technically he has two power ups. You know, he has like base form, which is fluke. Then he has to work for all his like mini upgrades. You know, but like all the other riders basically do the same thing, so it doesn't matter. And then he gets survive form, which he gets handed. But the thing with Survive is it wasn't handed to him because Shiro favored Shinji.
It was
It's because Shinji fucking basically stopped his little game,
it
you
was
know,
handed
and
to
they
him
were
so that he could protect Yui.
yeah, yeah, it was to protect Yui and also because like absolute power corrupts absolutely. So they handed it to him so he would like, well, I have this thing, I have the power to stop their fights, and then like the more you use it, the more you rely on it, and it would automatically like destroy their ceasefire over time. You know, because it's like I have the ability to get what I want now. But like
Then
Shinji is
again,
like fuck that shit. Yeah,
no, no. But Shinji, in the end, he succumbed to the power, and then he actually wanted to fight, then died.
He realized what he would wish for if he won. That was his ironic death.
yeah. I mean that's true because like most of the deaths in Ryuki are ironic. It's like yeah, the one guy who had nothing to fight for or nothing to wish for finally had something he wanted to wish for, and then he died fighting. But like,
Like he realized it as he was dying.
yeah, but then again, he was also, you know, he died like okay, like Ryuki is complex, right? Like the character, it's um the person who wrote Ryuki, she wrote like O's and Deno and like Amazons and stuff. And like the thing is, like her characters, like you guys said, tend to be like super boring. If you just like, oh, main character, or I guess Saracenian says it, where it's like, oh, you know, like Shinji and Eiji and those guys, kind of boring characters. I'm like, yeah, they're kind of boring because they're not normal characters. They're kind of like thesis statements. So their character arc is like the thesis statement of the show. So that's why like Shinji, like his ending, like he's kind of an idiot, but like the whole point of Ryuki is like you don't have to have the right answers or even know what the fuck you're doing as long as you're a good person and you try, you know, like that's the best you can hope for. And then like by the
Mm.
end, that's basically that's what he changes like all the other writers around him. But by the end,
Well,
he also realizes like yeah, you know, it's kind of important to be selfish sometimes, you know, if you're fighting for something that's really important. So they have an effect on him. You know, go ahead.
mm. Well, I was gonna say that you know what bothered me a bit about Ryuk. Mostly, what bothered me about Ryuk is how inconsistent it got because of Toshiki Inoue and Yasuo Kobayashi's writing style clashing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, plus then you had like the whole Asakura is super popular, so we can't kill this guy problem.
Like, oh my God, Asakura! Like after a point in the series, like I'm like, just die already.
I know, right? He just becomes their like anti-hero friend. Like he becomes fucking Bakugo from My Hero Academia, pretty much. And it's like, okay, that's not the same guy. You know, like he murders people. He can barely stand still without like causing a ruckus. You know, he's not this cool anti-hero guy who'll protect someone on a
I wouldn't
boat.
call him a hero, but he does become less bloodlusty.
I know, but that's just because like he became too popular. And yeah, you're right. Like he's super inconsistent depending on who writes him because like he just changes because he's a character that's popular. Therefore, we have to write an episode with him in.
You remember that
But
one
like at
time
that point,
Shinji broke him out of jail to try and kill him?
oh my god, that was so fucking. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of dumbass moments in Ryuki, but like you get so much downtime with the people who are writers who are outside of suits that you kind of see their point of view. Like you feel their desperation. You know,
Yeah.
you don't need a speech. You don't need a moment of them just like ranting at somebody. You kind of know their situation because like Ryuki is also the show with like the most over the top nonsense, and it's great
Alright.
because you hang out with these guys,
Oh,
and so it just becomes a drama.
okay. One of my favorite moments in Ryuki is when the four main riders are together because they're hunting down the alternatives, and Zolda is just like, okay, who here thinks Shinji is an idiot? And they all raise their hands. And Shinji is just looking
Oh
at Asakura as Asakura slowly teases him by raising his hand.
no, he goes like, I don't give a shit. He doesn't even rate. Oh, he thinks like, oh, there's a holdout. Maybe Asakura's on my side, and then Asakura's like, are you kidding me, you idiot? I don't care.
Well, that was the whatever the first question was, but then the second question was, who
Oh
thinks
yeah, yeah,
Shinji is an
yeah.
idiot? And then Asakura turns around in his chair and he slowly raises his hand up and teases Shinji with it.
Oh my god, that's so great. I mean, I especially love they have like the meter, like the audience meter, so it's so cheesy,
And then
but
like
it's so
fireworks
good.
go off in Shinji's head as he realizes no one respects him at all.
Ah, that's
Okay.
Oh
so
god,
great.
this podcast has become like
Oh yeah.
Ryuki, Gaim, and other rider cast.
Yeah, we have not been talking about build for too long, and this podcast has been an hour 20 minutes, and I want to wrap it up.
Yes.
Okay, so build. This episode was a good episode. It was very well executed and it was far better than the previous two. Most of our problems with it just come from decisions made throughout the series as a whole, but this episode was still very solid for what it was.
Well, my final thoughts is that I really like their focus on Gentoku and Sento this episode, and I really from it I really didn't enjoy the him wearing those costumes a lot. I think this is a better better thing that Gentoku is now a normal person and not like I'm talking about like he became normal how his character is rather than those two episodes where they decided to fill time for no reason. Well, now I hope that this episodes carry themselves till the end. Well, at either this or better than this space, and I'll be really happy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it wasn't a terrible episode. It wasn't super great, but that's mostly because the pacing of this arc kind of messed with it. As an episode on itself, it was pretty solid. Um, but like now, hopefully, we have all the characters in play that we can, like the rest of the pacing is good because we're really close to the end. Like it's 40 plus.
It's about
This is
48,
Endgame.
someone said.
Oh,
I think it's either 48 or 49.
huh, that's pretty long. Um, yeah. Anyway, I mean, like, hopefully the pacing holds up for the next 6, 7 episodes. And when you're getting to that, like, it doesn't matter how much your series drags in the middle. Like, as long as you have a strong ending, people will remember it well. hopefully Build has a good ending or a good
Yeah,
stretch of episodes. Mine.
yeah. As long as the end is good, then I actually don't. It's not. It's. I would actually be this. Okay, this series will be actually number one for me in Kamen Rider. I just enjoy the series a lot, but I just hope the ending is good because the ending arc of Blade elevated Blade from me from like I think sixth position to straight to second because how good it was. So I just hope that can do the same thing because I really like most of this show and I really want to like the end.
I like a lot of the concepts in the show. I like a lot of the themes. I even like a lot of the characters, save one that I just don't really care for. It's just certain decisions in certain ways. Certain executions of those decisions hold the show back. But anyways, thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back next Tuesday for more Lupin Ranger versus Pod Ranger, and Wednesday for more Kamen Rider Build. See you next time.
Bye bye. I might actually watch Lupin Ranger.
You should.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next time.